Before starting this video, I just want to say thank you. It's been pretty much 4 years since I started doing YouTube more consistently. And, over the last 4 years, I've learned a lot about how to love you guys and how to really serve you guys and remember and just be there, hold the space for everybody. And so, in a way, even though we all can only really be whole, inside of ourselves, learning how to love you all has made me whole in a way that I can't express really. So just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys and that I really, I just really strive to be the best version of myself every single day. And I'm learning how to let go of embarrassment more and more each and every day as well, with, being online and being a public figure. And even though it's not like insanely popular, it's still, I know that I influence thousands and thousands of people. So every single day. And, this is why I know that if you're listening to this video, you've just got that it factor, you've got that it factor. There's something about you that I know other people see in you, because we're all sharing this common life together. I know that I have that it factor because I just am it. Like I don't even need to identify with it. And I trust that that's exactly where you're at in the spirit of the time as well. Is you're learning how to cultivate your own power. You're learning that you don't have to listen to these people who are knocking you down and trying to make it seem like you're less than you really are. If you truly know your value, then you have to go out and get what you're worth. It reminds me of Rocky's quote when he speaks to his son, and he's giving him this inspirational speech. Basically, he doesn't really, I don't think he really meant it to be that way, but it kind of came out that way because it's, Rocky. But of course, I knew that it was going to be a powerful moment for a lot of people because it's so relatable, right? We can't keep pointing the finger at other people, trying to make it seem like they're the ones that are the problem, or, they're the ones that are this or that. And look, maybe some of the time they are the problem. Like, we just got to be true with this. And truthfully, a lot of people don't want to grow. They don't want to, like, they would rather see you in the dark, struggling in the abyss, staring into the void, than giving you a helping hand, even when they could. That's just the truth about this plane of consciousness that we live in. And so this plane of consciousness that we live in it's a very corrupt space. But that doesn't mean that we have to be corrupt. That doesn't mean that we have to let, even though there's a lot of truth to, the cookedness, because it's a lot of cookedness out there. Even though there's a lot of cookedness to the society and everybody's cooked, we don't have to be. We can still set an example. We can still be rising together. We can still, again, share this common life and trust that we don't have to play by the rules of these systems, like the politicians, the government, the religionists, the healthcare system, the education system. We don't have to play by these rules. Now, I'm not saying we should rebel against them necessarily, but what I'm saying is that we can play the game. The best way and the best route forward that I can see to remain grounded enough to be, aware, like having our feet on the ground, so to speak, right? But while still ready to go out into the world and basically, be erect as men and just fuck the shit out of this world, man. Because I know that sounds pretty graphic, but that's really what it is, right? Like when you wake up and you're ready to go, when you're just on your purpose, whatever that means to you, because to have purpose is really more about just embodying who you are. Like, people want to find purpose. I don't think you can find purpose, really. Like, you can't really find it. It's something that you kind of just allow to unfold as you center yourself more. It's not about balance. Now, balance is fine. Balance is good. And if you've got that it factor, then definitely you understand what balance is. But it's not as important as being centered in yourself, not self-centered necessarily, but centered in yourself. It's not to say to be solipsistic, but to understand the workings of life in a more profound way. Because one thing that I've realized, especially over the past 4 years, doing some reflection and some just retrospect on what I've done well, what I've done that I could be doing better at, etc. What I've done really well at, I would say, is just my own persistence to be consistent. And when I make a decision, I make a decision. I go full-fledged into it no matter what the consequences are. I don't really backtrack. Whenever I make a decision, this is why I'm not hesitant to make a decision. It's just before I make decisions, I'm very, very mindful about them. And to some people, this may be seeming like over precaution. But to me, it's not over precaution at all. It's evaluating and being strategic while we live in the world, but not being of it, like Jesus Christ talks about, right? Like being of the world, or being in the world, but not of it, right? So I don't want to be in the world in a way that prohibits me from seeing my full potential, but I also know that I have to be persistent at what I do and how I do it. This is one of the reasons why with the Godlike Mastery offer, every single week we meet for 12 weeks in that program. And everybody, I think one of the main reasons why people see a decrease in self-sabotage and an increase in pattern recognition is because they're consistent. They're so consistent every single week. Like, the container, so to speak, that is the Godlike Mastery offer encourages people to be as aware as possible of the systems that they're in so that they can get out of the systems. And I do this with my life every single day. Like, I've been doing a lot of research in alchemy and astrology recently, more so than I've already been, introduced and intrigued by, because I've been studying this stuff for years. But astrology specifically, I'm being way more mindful about how the observation of the planets and the stars and etc. and the constellations is changing the social structure and the social dynamic and the spirit of the time. And I'm being very aware not to, because I know about certain things, project onto the society what I am seeing from what's supposed to be when it comes to astrology or alchemy or whatever. And it's very interesting because I've been documenting this. A lot of people don't know this. I've been documenting this for about a month or two now, just very diligently in my documentation. And something that I've seen is the people who have the it factor. If you're that person who has the it factor, what you are doing is you are not letting external circumstances be a contingency for how you operate in the world. Because what you do when you have the it factor is you simply embody who it is that you are to be, and you embody who it is that you want to be to the best of your ability in the totality of the moment each and every day. Like, if you're going to go out and fight, like I say, I'm at war with the religionists, the politicians, the government, the education system, the healthcare system. When I say I'm at war with these systems of being, because they want to basically rob you of your critical thought. Okay, I don't really know how so many people are obliged to this. It's interesting because growing up, I was very naive, and some of you may relate to this, some of you may not, because I was around a lot of narcissists growing up, a lot of narcissistic individuals growing up, and it was a very highly toxic environment. I'm very grateful for it, but nonetheless, it was a not so pleasant experience, really. And not that I'm attached to the pleasantriness, but it's just the fact of the matter is it wasn't a good experience. Like, that's just what it was. We're just talking about it as it is. And growing up, I had this tendency to trust other people way more because I was trained not to trust myself. And if you're trained not to trust yourself and you have a lot of self-doubt, this is naturally going to lead to self-sabotage. This is naturally going to lead to domains of being that are going to prohibit you from optimizing your potential, from seeing yourself as an asset to optimize and to prioritize, rather than seeing yourself as, a liability to manage. This is something I've been pondering quite a bit recently, and seeing how it's not just like keeping my body healthy or keeping my mind well with meditation or prayer or whatever the case is, because I don't really pray too much anymore. Not that I see that as like a bad thing. It's just meditation for me is far more palpable to the spirit of the time, because when I pray, I'm not really I don't really know who I'm praying to anymore. And that sounds strange to some people, so don't assert your projections onto me just yet, okay? For the religionists that may be watching this, don't assert this just yet, or assume just yet that you know exactly what I'm talking about, or that you think I've lost my way. I haven't lost my way at all. I've just seen that there's nowhere to stand, and that there's really no one to talk to. Like, God and the devil are basically symbols of the duality of your own psyche. And that doesn't make them less real, but to think of God as a being that is, it's not like, it's beingness. God, I see God, the soul of existence, as more of a beingness rather than a being. Being is a form, but beingness is a quality. And so godliness is a quality, and that's what I think the soul of existence is. I don't even think it. It's that's exactly how I've experienced it, because I see the entirety of existence as the soul of existence. We're all one soul expressing itself from different forms. And so when I see this is the it factor. There's something about you that tunes into that oneness. And you might not know how. You might not know why. But this is why I say I'm not really praying so much anymore, is because it's like, what am I going to pray to? The quality of being? I mean, maybe. Like, you can do that, sure, but I don't see how it's going to benefit me. What's going to benefit me is through the embodiment of the principles and the teachings of these free beings. It's not going to be it's not going to be trying to worship something, because Maharaji, who is Ram Dass's guru, Maharaji said that it's better to become Christ than to worship Christ. And that makes complete sense to me, because why worship something when you can just be it? Why? This is one of the reasons why many people have idols or icons in the world, right? Like, people might project onto you some kind of form of idolatry or entitlement of embodying like certain things. Like, when I don't match, for example, if I don't match certain people's perceptions of who they think I'm supposed to be, they start to project onto me about, the shadow. They project their shadow onto me, or their anima or their animus, depending on who it is. Like, I've made videos of, women in the past, and how women is like, they're cooked. Dating is is absolutely abhorrent, nowadays. It's just absolutely abhorrent. And women have completely projected onto me about how, it's my problem and it's my issue. It's like, oh, really? because because if it's my issue, how come it's a pattern? How come it's a pattern that women will lie straight to my face about being single when they have a family or they're married at home? How come it's a pattern that this happens? How come it's a pattern that women will take off their wedding ring around me? How come that keeps happening? You know, do indulge me, woman. Do indulge me of your enlighten me. Just shut the up. Like, you don't know exactly what you're talking about. You're just projecting your own animus onto me because you don't like what I'm saying. Oh, that's kind of where you have to relearn the meaning of balance and being centered. Because when you're talking to a lot of these women out here, man, good luck. Good luck. Because they're like assassins, man. If you look in their eyes, they have assassin's eyes. The way that I've described a woman in a song that I really like, for example, like my ideal type of woman, she would have like a brush of sadness in her voice, and a glint of light shedding constantly and emanating from her skin. That's kind of the way that it's a poetic way to describe something. I know that and I understand that, but it's just more about like, a lot of these women think they have the it factor, right? They're like, "Ooh, I'm the," It's like, no, you're just like, I don't want to be mean, but it's just the truth that a lot of these women, I'm not saying all women are trash, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that they're basically inflating and being artificial in their ego without knowing it. And it only leads to self-betrayal and ego inflation. Like, everything that they're doing, this entitlement, this form of ways of being. And I know I'm talking about a lot of different subjects here, because some people, they don't, if people don't vibe with me, they're usually not really high in openness. I'm really high in openness, like off the charts when it comes to being open to experience. So I can connect a lot of different ways to a lot of different things, whereas a lot of people, it's not like my mind is like a series of tabs on a internet screen or whatever. It's more like I can see the boxes and I can see the internet tabs and I can see how they connect. Or it's kind of like I'm orbiting an idea over here, and then I see how, like, if I use the momentum to go around that subject, I can go to this subject over here. That's the way that I perceive myself and my own thoughts. But I think what it really means to have the it factor ultimately is you're sensible in solitude, and you don't have a proclivity to need people just because you feel like you're lonely, or you feel like you need to justify your ideas or your ways of being or your feelings to other people. Like, you don't feel like you need to justify, you just be. You embrace and embody the being that you are through beingness, which is the soul of existence. So I trust this message reached those that are ready to receive it. Apply to the Godlike Mastery offer if this is the type of transformation that you're looking for. And or you could join the Regal Academy. I do have more classes coming up. I don't want to announce what the classes are going to be just yet, because tis a secret. Tis a secret. But the Art of Seduction class is going to end on September 6th. And I'm working through the 48 Laws of Power class still. I'm putting out 2 laws per week. So there's like execution tasks and observation tasks that you can do for each law. It's optional, of course. But if you want to get the most out of your investment, obviously, do the tasks and embody the teachings to the best of your ability. So, with that being said, peace, be blessed. Until next time.